PCS can be disastrous for your high schooler. Hey, I am Chuck the Bureaucrat, and you will often hear me say that I want you to be as successful as possible. And really, what that boils down to is that you get promoted to the ranks of senior NCO or field grade officer so that you can take on the really, really hard tasks of providing our nation's security. And to a certain extent, for you to be successful, your spouse and your children, well, they also have to be successful. But there is one specific detail about how America works that can absolutely torpedo your child's success. And that is that different states have different high school graduation requirements. And what's more, whatever state you're in when your child starts high school, well, that state is going to start to guide your child towards meeting the graduation requirements of that state. And so, if you PCS to a different state with different high school graduation requirements in the middle of your child's high school experience, well then it may be very difficult for them to graduate on time under this new set of standards. To illustrate the point, I'm going to use data from the Education Commission of the states. This is a nonprofit organization that tracks education policy. The commission is essentially an interstate compact that was approved by Congress and includes participants from all U.S. states and territories. So, while it is not exactly a government agency, it does provide a wealth of information about government policy. And the particular report we're interested in today is the 50-state comparison for requirements for a standard high school diploma. Anyway, here is how one family ran into trouble. They were stationed in California for 3 years, and their son started his freshman year the first year they got there. So, he does 3 years in California before Dad gets orders taking them to Virginia. And Virginia has much higher graduation requirements than California. California wants 3 years of English and language arts. Virginia wants 4. California wants 2 years of math. Virginia wants 3. California wants 2 years of science. Virginia wants 3. Oh, and by the way, they have to be laboratory sciences. Cali wants 1 year of language. Virginia wants 2. Pretty quick, all of this starts to add up. In this case, the student was looking at being pushed back so far that it was going to take an additional year just because of the difference of how the California system gets somebody to a high school graduation and how Virginia works. And this can be an issue in some surprising states because Tennessee, South Carolina, even Mississippi require 4 credits of math plus a credit of computer science. And never mind the fact that some states have different ways they calculate these credits. And in some states, it's actually the local school boards that determine the graduation requirements. But so what? I mean, what are you going to do? Well, I could say just pick the standards from the hardest states and use that as the standard for your kid. But honestly, that might not be realistic. I mean, your local high school may not fully support your zeal to cram your kid into classes that the guidance counselor doesn't think are appropriate. And your kid, they might object to you being too much of a tiger mom. Instead, I think that you have to make this part of your career planning decision process as you have conversations with your leadership and your career branch manager and your family. You guys might remember that I have a year-by-year template that I use when I counsel officers on their careers. And one of the very important elements of that template is when the high school years of their kids land within their career. Basically, when we were doing the annual reassignment process, I tried to get kids into a state before they were too far through their high school experience. That way, we were better positioned to move a service member after their kids had graduated. And obviously, there were cases where that just wasn't feasible. And in that situation, I counseled people that you're going to have a conversation with your kids, and you're going to have to do some family planning about this. Now, it's unlikely that your leadership is thinking this deeply about your future, but I would encourage you to frame this point for them. Either request an early move to get into a state high school system at the right time, or be explicit about this point when it comes time to request a high school stabilization. Personally, I don't have much sympathy for that whole narrative about, well, my kid wants to graduate with their friends. But my kid won't graduate on time if we move. That is a different story. And then, what do you do if you're screwed? I mean, you got orders and you gotta go. Obviously, this is going to be one of those situations where some families are going to choose to go split operations, geo-batch it, although my family never really liked that option. Alternately, you can take steps to get your kids graduated early. If you see the writing on the wall, you can enroll your kid in some summer school to pick up extra classes, maybe tack on an extra course during the year, or even take classes at a local community college. In fact, and this might seem a little strange, but most high schools have a program to fast-track teen parents so that they graduate on time. Those same strategies may be useful for a military child who has to graduate quicker than expected. And finally, let me close with this point. Service members have a tendency to hide aspects of their personal life that might negatively impact their careers. And I get it. I'm not trying to stop you. But I would encourage you to talk among your trusted friend group about the challenges your family faces. Most families have issues that they have to deal with. You're not alone, and you're certainly not unique in that aspect. So talk to each other. In fact, if you want to see a way that behavior of hiding things, particularly medical symptoms, can harm your eligibility for VA benefits, watch this video.